Well, it's 10:30. Let's get the show on the road here this morning, folks. I'm Fletcher Crow. I'm with the Sunday Seminar Committee here at UCG, and today we are very honored to have Star Bradbury speak to us about senior living. Is this rascal going to work? Okay, and this is being recorded properly now, so we'll be able to watch this on the internet later on if you want to. But I think a lot of you probably already know Star. She's been a real pillar of this church with her and her husband for many years. So it comes as no surprise that she's going to speak with us today. But we're very honored to have her here. She just recently published a book. I want everybody to look at the title. There we go. Okay. Now, the name of the book is Successfully Navigating Your Parents' Senior Years. So one of these days, we're going to have a great celebration, big statue of Star out here, being our but no, Star is a real pro in this. For 18 years, you may remember, she was with OCAMIC, and now she does consulting. She has her own company called Senior Living Strategies, and they provide all sorts of valuable information to folks like us here who are either thinking about senior living strategies for our parents or for ourselves. So let's see, here's Star behind me right here. Star, welcome. We will be taking questions. So what will happen is if you want to ask a question, raise your hand and I'll bring over the microphone here. And at about 10 after 11, Star is going to stop, and those people that have to go to the second service are happy to move on over to the second service, but she said that she can stay a little bit later after that time. So if you want to hang around, ask some questions, and enjoy the coffee, you're welcome. So Star, it's up to you.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. I'm going to set my timer and attempt to actually stay on time. Always been a challenge. My husband can attest to that. So the question that I get is, why did you write it for like adult kids? Why didn't you write it for us, meaning baby boomers and seniors? And I said, when I decided to write the book, I debated that. And I was convinced by a daughter whose mom I'd been helping. And she said, Star, please write it for us. By the time you're in your 70s or older, you've learned a lot, we hope. But the adult kids, we don't know anything. And we're thrown into crisis and trying to help our parents make informed decisions, or we're trying to make educated and informed decisions, and we don't know what we're doing. And I thought, you're right, having experienced it myself. So that's why I oriented the book. But I have lots of people buying it as presents for their children. Or whoever might be, in a position to be on what I call your support team. And it isn't like you can't read it and extrapolate it for yourself, but you will see that the voice, as the author, I'm speaking more to adult children. And so let's see, we can get started. Hopefully my little clicker will work. We're getting there. So one of the things I did want to share about myself is, yes, first of all, I don't work for anybody but myself right now. Okay. Yes, I did work at OCAMIC for 18 years. I was the second employee ever hired way back when. And before that, I ran a standalone assisted living facility. I was the administrative director and the marketing director. They just threw everything at me in one job description. And then I also ran a memory care facility before I started working at OCAMIC. So I've been in senior living for 25 years. And just to be clear, my goal today is to focus on senior living in Gainesville, primarily focused on independent living. Now we are going to cross over into assisted living and a little bit about memory care, but not much, because there's a fair amount to cover today. So I'm assuming that if you're here, that, and it's a pretty safe assumption, you're trying to figure out what options do I have? Should I age in place, which is the industry term for staying in my home. You might be thinking about, well, maybe I should downsize, possibly move closer to family, leave Gainesville. We've seen quite a few of our longtime UCG members make that decision, move to the West Coast. Why? Children, to be closer to your adult children. Well, that depends on, do you have children, number one? Or do you have children you want to live closer to? Number two, would they be capable of helping you? I mean, I hear all of this, perhaps they're not, or their individual situation wouldn't allow them to, or they're like, I have a son in LA, a daughter in Chicago, and a son in Massachusetts. I am not moving any of those places. So that's just not an option, but you're probably evaluating. Maybe I should move to a retirement community. We're going to talk about a lot of that today. Or maybe what's assisted living? I want to plan ahead. Maybe you don't need assisted living now, or maybe you do. And what's available? That's going to be another Sunday focused on assisted living. And what if I want to hire help in my home? Or you may be here because you want to support your parents, you want to help them make decisions. So could be a variety. That's a pretty big spectrum there, but I'm going to try to stay focused on senior living in Gainesville. But I like to start out with this question, because in my 25 years in senior living, I don't think this is the approach most people start with. Most people, in my experience, and I think like 90% of people over the age of 70, if you ask them what their plan is, they would say, I'm staying in my home. I'm aging in place. And honestly, friends, I think that is not the right question to ask, because people get ingrained and locked into that decision. And really, I would like you to say, what does successful aging mean to you? Staying in your home, maintaining your health. I mean, think about it for a minute. Personally, you're all going to have a different answer to that. There may be some overlap, but I really would like to stress that your focus needs to be on how can I age successfully? That's the real question. How can I maximize and prolong my independence for the longest possible time? It's one of the principles I start with in my book. Principle number one, you might make different decisions if you're really approaching aging successfully with that question first. And so I would suggest you all go home. Here's your homework assignment. And really spend some time thinking about, what does it mean to me to age successfully? And how can I make decisions around that principle? Not, I'm going to stay in my home forever. Now, unless you have a really strong support team, you see that in bold at the bottom of the slide? How strong is my support team? That's really factors in. Research shows that the people who do age successfully in their own home have a very, very strong support team. So match those two up. How strong is my support team if I want to stay in my home and age? So, and not to mention basic things that you should be doing long ahead of a crisis, like modifying your home. That's another presentation, though, modifying your home. So why would you consider a move? Is your house too big? I hear that a lot from people. Perhaps they're with a partner, or they've lost their spouse or their partner. Their home is it might be a big, beautiful home, but it's just gotten to be too much, taking care of it, the maintenance of it. And you might be happier, your aging successfully plan might be downsizing to a smaller house in a community that you have some support from, like the co-housing unit or community. And you might be happier in a retirement community. I know we have several people here who already live at the village, and we're going to talk about that as an option. And think of it this way. Remember principle number one, how can I maximize my independence for the longest possible time? What if moving into a retirement community allowed you to do that? I have a friend who's 93. She swore forever, I am not moving, I'm staying in my home. And she did for 40 years. And I give her a lot of credit, because it took a lot of courage for her to say, you know what? It's not working for me anymore. But she moved into the village. Why? Because at the village at 93, now she doesn't have to worry about cooking. There's scheduled transportation. She just stopped driving. There's housekeeping. There's all your maintenance. She's still living independently. She has her own apartment. She's not in assisted living. but she's able to maximize and maintain her independence by moving into a community that provides that level of support. So that's another way to think about it. If there's any resistance out here about, what is my plan? So let's talk about independent retirement communities. And this is just general information. Some are rental only. Some are equity, meaning purchase, you own the property. Some are a combination. We're going to talk a lot about life care communities that have typically have an entry fee, which is not rental and not equity. You don't own it. But that's a picture of a retirement community, obviously somewhere in the mountains. I'm not sure where. Could be North Carolina, but unknown author. So high-rise urban, you could pick rural, no levels of care. Some have no levels of care. Now, what I'm talking about is what would be known as a full service retirement community, which is what the Village is, by the way. Because you could go to some other retirement community, but they don't have the kind of support that the Village has, which is called full service. So how specific do you want? You can find a nudist retirement community. All of this is real. I am not making any of this up. There's some that are just for military communities. Of course, you probably know that. Fleet Landings in Jacksonville, that's Navy. So there's a big Army one in Texas somewhere. There's communities focused on meditation. There's one just for pilots where they have their own, their own airstrip. So honestly, you could find, if you want something really specific, and that's going to float your boat, make you happy, you can find it. Not in Gainesville, but generally. And some of you may be considering relocating closer to family or adult children, and so I'm generally educating you that these options are out there. So what can you expect when I say full service retirement community? Again, this is a general list of what you could expect at any what's called full service, meaning they're going to have a variety of dining options, fitness and aquatic centers, salons, barbershops, housekeeping, scheduled transportation, usually some kind of wellness clinic, again, for a fee, but on-site wellness clinic, many types of social groups. It usually includes basic maintenance of your apartment. So if something breaks, if you're, 90, you don't want to be climbing a ladder to change a light bulb. That could be a big deal and not a good idea. Well, you could call the maintenance and say, I need you to come change my light bulbs. I need you to replace the washing machine. I need a new refrigerator. That's the kind of thing you could expect. My faucet's not working. They're going to repair it. And usually it's included. Your basic maintenance is included. And they may or may not, important distinction, they may or may not have any other levels of care. Many have no other levels of care. By that, I mean assisted living or memory care. They're not going to. Many don't. So let's now I want to get specific. And again, I don't work for anybody anymore. I don't get any kickbacks. I'm just here to educate you and inform you and make sure that you're making educated, informed decisions. I'm a fan of the Village. I like the Village. I have friends who live there. I've been out there recently and had a wonderful meal. I think it's called Fresco's, their new dining room, which is really quite lovely. But let's talk about the Village, because most of you, I'm going to guess that the majority of you don't want to leave Gainesville. I don't. I love Gainesville. And you asked me to come talk about senior options in Gainesville. So here's one of them in terms of independent living, although they have other levels of care. We're going to talk about that. So it's been around a long time. It's founded in 1979. Yes, it is a full service rental community, no entry fees. They do have independent living in multiple buildings. It's big. I think it's 104 acres. But they also have assisted living and memory care on site. They do not have skilled nursing. Now, we're going to talk about, after I'm done talking about the Village, Okamic, and the difference between a full service rental community and a life care community. Big difference. People ask me all the time, well, they're the same. No, they're not the same at all under licensing. Okay. And so there is a big difference, but there is a one-time community fee of $5,000 at the Village, which is required when you make a reservation. I am moving into blah, blah, blah apartment. Boom, here's my $5,000 reservation deposit. Required, non-refundable. Now, I'm not talking about a wait list. I'm talking about I've decided to move in here. Here's my reservation deposit, and it's $5,000. Okay. So the monthly fees at the village range from, I'm going to say about. Now, I have checked 2023 pricing, but I'm still going to make this about approximately $3,000 to $4,500 for a 1-bedroom apartment. So these are current prices. $4,350 to $6,700 for a 2-bedroom, and $6,300 to $6,700 for a 2-bedroom and a study. We're going to talk about what's included in that monthly fee and why is it so high. So you kind of, but this is current. This is what you would expect to pay if you moved out there today. Now, there may be a few of you out here who already live at the village. And you're just saying, well, how come you didn't include efficiencies or studios? Because I happen to know, and Fletcher and I have talked about this, that the older building called Lake House, they will eventually rebuild from the ground up. That's the older building built in the 80s. They're having too many issues to continue to keep it up. Over time, I don't want anybody to freak out. They're not going to tear any buildings down next month. But within the next few years, those smaller efficiency and studios are not going to be available. So if I'm relatively sure that if you went out there today, there wouldn't be any available, and they're not going to release those as time goes on. But so you might say, so the 3,000 is a little higher than the lowest possible rental fee now, but that's not going to continue. So there is a second person flat monthly fee of $1,200, meaning you move into an apartment, you're going to pay what's called that first person rental that's associated with that unit, somewhere between $3,000 and $6,700, and then a second person. Now, remember, that could be your best friend. It could be your daughter. I mean, I've seen all of these configurations, right? Your partner, your spouse, your husband, your wife, your daughter, somebody. Second person, that's going to be a flat fee of $1,200. The monthly fee includes, this is not a complete list because there is a long list, flexible dining where they give you X amount of dollars that's included in your monthly fee. And it's pretty high. I think I was just out there with a client this week, and I think Stacy told me, don't quote me on this, but I think she said $800 of your monthly fee is your dining. And they have really nice dining options out there. And you can spend it how you want. Have your friends over. It's going to be on your tab. You know, it's not a restaurant that's open to the public. You can't say, oh, don't worry, Mom, I'll pick up the tab. It doesn't work that way. If you're visiting somebody there, they're going to be treating you on their dining dollars, right? So the dining account is flexible. You can apply it to breakfast. Most people, all the apartments are fully equipped. You're going to make your own breakfast typically, right? Maybe go out to lunch. They have fine dining. They have a pizza place. They have all kinds of options there. So you spend $10, it's deducted from your dining account. You might be gone for a week, but you come back and you've got X amount of dollars still left. So lots and lots of options here. And it includes housekeeping once a week, basic maintenance, and tons of social and recreational activities that involve no cost. So that's sort of an overview. 104 acres, lots of walking trails. You all know it's on multiple buildings. It's not under one roof. You know, if you live over in the Cypress, blah, 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 and you want to go over to the dining room, you're either walking, they have on-site transportation, the bus will come get you if mobility is an issue, but it's not all under one roof. Some people love that, some people don't. Just depends, but it's spread out. It's a big campus, and they have an acreage they haven't built on that I'm positive within 5 years they'll be expanding and adding more options. But they have mini libraries, scheduled transportation, 24-hour security, resident alert system. They are pet friendly. You can bring your pet, but they're going to upcharge you monthly for your pet, which I think they should, having seen many apartments destroyed by pets. That the owner says absolutely wonderful and a sweet little dog and never bites anything. Then the dog gets stressed because you're moving the dog and they chew through the door. So there is a pet charge, an initial upcharge, and then a monthly charge that they add to. So but they also have on-site medical. The village is affiliated with it's run by Santa Fe Healthcare is the corporation. Santa Fe Healthcare also runs and owns other medical facilities. And they're affiliated with North Florida Hospital, as opposed to Okamic that's affiliated with Shands. That affiliation means nothing. You keep your doctors where they're there at UF Health Shands or at North Florida. There's no requirement of any kind in either location that you affiliate with the hospital they're affiliated with. But they do have North Florida Senior Care Hospital on site at the Village. And some of you may know Dr. Joel Rich, and I think it's Dr. Bannock. They have office hours there at the Village. And if you wanted to, you could go to that primary care physician right there on site. They also have relationships with 2 home care companies so that you're not out there trying to find a home care company, because just like if you were at home and you needed home care, if you live in the Village, it's the same thing. That's your home, and you can bring home care in, meaning a home health companion or home health care. So that's, they have dental, audiology. Of course, this is all at your normal cost or insurance charge. And they do have a wait list, so if I always tell people getting on a wait list does not mean you're going anywhere. It means you are reserving an option to maybe go there. That's all it is. So if you say, well, I don't really know what I want to do. Yeah, that's okay too. Most people don't. But if you knew it took 5 years or longer to get what you wanted, and you thought you might want to go to one of these communities, talk to them about getting on the wait list so that you even have the option of getting what you want. Because the most popular apartments are usually a 1-bedroom and den, and they don't have a zillion of them. That means that they're going to be taken by somebody on the wait list before anyone in the outside community is going to get one of those apartments. So I tell people, even if you're not sure what you want to do, and you think it's a possibility, get on a wait list so that it's even a possibility when you do decide to go. Now, I included the cost of assisted living at the Village. You can, and this is 2023 pricing. Because of COVID and staffing issues, everyone had big price increases in 2023. It was 7% at the Village this past year, went up for monthly fees, for assisted living, and for memory care. It went up 10% at Okamic. So these are sizable increases. We don't know if those will continue. These are unusually high, but that is the world of healthcare today. Hospitals, nursing homes, staffing, trying to keep people and even hire them, so, and food costs. So you're going to see this. I used to tell people that it was a 4 to 5% increase, generally speaking, across the board on monthly fees and even entry fees for life care communities. I don't know anymore. It might be higher. And so you're trying to figure out, is this affordable? Not for a year or two, but people, the fastest growing demographic in the United States today is what? 90 to 100. The fastest growing demographic in the United States today is 90 to 100. Do not underestimate how long you are going to live. So when you're planning for, is this going to work for me financially, which is a big question for people, don't say, oh, I'll be dead by blah, 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 because you might not be, right? And you're trying to make a plan that's to age successfully, right? And financial is certainly part of that. So assisted living, 6,100 to 8,200. Now you notice I put all inclusive. Why did I say that? Because in the world of assisted living, it is often not all inclusive. This is getting to be a rarity rather than typical, meaning that most assisted living facilities do what they call tiered pricing. Remember this, we're not going to talk about that much today because that's another topic for another Sunday as far as assisted living goes. But tiered pricing means there's a flat lower fee, and then for every service you need, this person needs assistance managing medications. This person needs assistance with bathing. This person needs assistance with dressing. This person needs with blah, 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 blah. And they charge another $100 or more per service. So if you call and say, could you tell me what your assisted living is? Remember we used to hold a phone like that? Okay. I'm dating myself, right? At least I'm not doing this, right? Some of you won't even know what that is, right? Anyway, so with assisted living, there's a flat fee, but then you find out that it's tiered. Now, actually, that could be good. What if you just need one or two things and you don't want to pay an all-inclusive fee that includes everything, right? But on the other hand, you might have somebody who needs everything, and it's better to have it all inclusive. But please keep this in mind. No matter what, as you age, your needs will increase. So don't think that I'm going to start out at this and that fee that's this lowest fee will stay that way. If you're in assisted living, you're there for a reason. You already need some of these supportive services, which are likely to increase. So you really have to sort of look now for a 3 to 5 year window, which is another principle in my book, but continuous improvement. You're always looking at that plan to see if it's going to get you where you need to age successfully. Memory care is higher. Why? Why would memory care be higher? More increased services, more help, more care. If you're in, I always tell people, assisted living, you could be pleasantly confused and be in assisted living. You might have what's called mild cognitive impairment and do fine in assisted living. Memory care is beyond that. A memory care facility is for someone who is really significantly impaired, significantly confused, perhaps a wander risk. They're so disoriented they might leave, the facility. So you want to, nobody's going to go to memory care, and they're usually a secure facility. They can't just wander out. So, but memory care is $7,950 to $8,700 per month, and that will go up. And again, that's a lot. That's for someone who needs 24/7 care. That's still a lot less than if you were paying 24/7 care in your home, like 1/3 of that cost a month. So $1,800 for a second person, $1,800 for a second person. Now, how often have I seen two people in memory care together? Not very often, very unlikely. You might have someone in assisted living and someone else in memory care, but usually not. But still, there's the website for the village. So let's talk about the Atrium. I'm going to hold questions for the end, so try to remember them, because if I get distracted, it'll be all over. But the Atrium of Gainesville, I included this because it's the least expensive independent living in Gainesville. Now, they used to be owned by the Holiday Corporation. They've just merged with Atria Senior Living. They have done a lot to try to improve the building because it's an older building, and improve the dining experience there. But for people whose funds might be a little more limited, that's still an option. Let's call it pared down, okay? I wouldn't call it a full service. It's not like the village that has tons of social and recreational, but I do know people who've lived at the Atrium and they're quite happy there. It's a multi-storied building, studio apartments, and they have small apartments there, 474 to 488 square feet. And you'll see the cost is, I say only, $2,450, $2,450 and up, okay, but significantly less expensive than the village. 1 and 2 bedroom apartments, which are 771 to 983 square feet. The cost is $2,950 to $3,200. Second person fee is only $699. Now, I say only again, but if both people wanted a more supportive environment, they can still find that at the Atrium. And they have, again, all utilities, 3 meals a day, housekeeping, scheduled transportation, emergency alert, doesn't include cable TV, doesn't include internet, and the village does. They have a salon and barbershop, laundry room. And so I think you have to go to the laundry room to do your laundry. It's not in the apartments, but it is walking distance. So if you're able to, your mobility would allow, you could walk from the Atrium up to the Millhopper Shopping Center, Fresh Market. What's that bakery? Upper Crust. Yeah, that'd be worth walking to. Yeah. Okay. And yes, Publix is across the street. So it's central. If you're not driving, you still have access to a lot of the shopping at Millhopper. So there's pluses. It's near Publix, near CVS. So the Atrium is, I couldn't really talk about independent living without listing. They've been here a long, long time. Now let's talk about a life care community. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I always used to say, when I worked at Okamic. The good news is they have lots of options. The bad news is they have lots of options. It's very confusing. And all life care communities are very confusing. It is a complex, let's call it a complex option. I will say that the longest chapter in my book is on life care communities, and a lot longer than 10 minutes for me to try to describe to you what's a life care community is. But I'm going to do my best to give you a general idea on a narrow aspect of a life care community, and then more specific information about Okamic, because there's so many myths out there. I wouldn't even know where to start. And it's been open since 2006. There are still a lot of myths. I have to give all my money to the University of Florida. No, you don't. I mean, they'd love it if you would, and lots of people have been generous, but it's certainly not a requirement. I have to go to Shands doctors. No, not true. Also, you have to have a lot of money. That part is pretty true. Yeah, so we're going to talk about that. But generally speaking, what is a life care community as opposed to a full service retirement community? A life care community is under a completely different license. It is an umbrella license in Florida under the Department of Insurance. Why the Department of Insurance? Because when you move into Okamic, they are promising you long-term care, unlimited long-term care for your lifetime. And that is essentially an insurance product. It's like your entry fee is like buying a lump sum long-term care insurance policy at one time. That is the fastest description of what is, people say, what am I paying for? I don't even own it. Yeah, you don't own it. I'm paying this $500,000 or more, and I don't own my house, my condo. That is correct. It is not a real estate transaction. So when people say, why would anybody live there? Because you are prepaying your future long-term care in today's dollars. You are buying unlimited access to assisted, skilled, and memory care for your lifetime at a profound discount. We'll talk about that because it's confusing, right? But we'll get there. Okay, so a life care community will always, a true life care community will always have independent living, assisted living, and memory care, and skilled nursing. And ideally, you start in independent living. Now, if people say, well, I had a friend, she didn't live in independent living, she went and got rehab at Okamic. True, as the public can go directly, what I call a backdoor admission, right? Straight into rehab care, possibly long-term skilled care. And you might say, what about assisted living? Well, lately, no. Since as long as Okamic has been open, they don't really do direct admissions into assisted living. Why? They don't have the room. All those assisted living apartments are taken by people on a contract who came through the front door and paid an entry fee to make sure that when they needed assisted living, they could get it. So unless they build more assisted living, that is not an option. But skilled nursing is, and they have excellent rehab there. So that's a possibility if you needed physical therapy, occupational therapy, or rehab after some kind of event or surgery. Ideally, though, the advantage of a life care community is you move in through independent living and transition in and out of care as you need it. Generally speaking, first of all, I want to tell you that every life care community is different. I'd love to tell you that if you read some definition about life care, that it would be the same nationally. It isn't ever. Every community is different, which is why people hire me to look at contracts all over the United States and see what does it really mean? Because you have to be familiar with what you're looking for to understand that. So is it time? If you're leaving, it's 11:03. So if you're thinking about trying to make it to the second service, you probably need to leave in the next few minutes or so. Generally speaking, there's called an A, B, and C contract. I'm going to give you the 10-second elevator speech on this. A type A contract, which is called a true life care contract, means when you move in and you're paying, let's say, $3,500 a month for your apartment in independent living, you still have a monthly fee, even at a life care community. You have an entry fee and a monthly fee. Your monthly fee let's say it's 3,500 in a type A contract. Mrs. Smith moves over to skilled or assisted or memory care, and that monthly fee doesn't change. It's 3,500. That's a true type A. No change in the monthly fee when you go from independent living to a higher level of care, stays the same. Almost nobody offers that anymore. But I'm telling you, that's what a true type A is. A type B contract or modified life care contract means that you're going to pay, if you're in independent living, paying 3,500. Now you move over to assisted or skilled permanently. You're going to get some kind of significant discount off whatever the public is paying, maybe as high as 40% or 50% if you're on a life care contract. So it's a very high discount permanently applied to your lifetime within that community at a high discount off the market rate if you're on a type B or modified type A contract. A type C contract, which OCAMIC has, is fee for service. Why would anybody choose that? Maybe you have a super fabulous long-term care insurance policy. I've had people say, I want to move into OCAMIC for the lowest possible cost. Remember, you know, what might that be? An entry fee that doesn't include any prepaid long-term care insurance. Why? Because you think you might move, because you have a serious illness, you don't think you're going to live that long, you've got a fabulous long-term care insurance policy, some reason that you're picking a contract that doesn't give you any discount at all. It'll give you access. If you're moving into independent living, any contract is going to promise you access to assisted, skilled, or memory care. The question is, but what's the cost? If I make this move, what is the cost? And my answer would be, what contract did you sign? And that's where it gets confusing. So life care communities, guaranteed access, depending on the contract, costs for this care are far less than the market rate. Out of all of these slides, here's what I want to tell you. For any life care community in the United States, you have to pass a financial review and you have to pass a health assessment. Do you know how many times people would say, I'm just not ready yet. I know I'm interested, but I'm not. And then something major would happen, a major health event, and they'd be disqualified from either independent living at the worst, or from the life care contract that they really wanted because they had a major diagnosis that was either something long-term, predictably needing long-term care. Could be a cognitive impairment, could be Alzheimer's, could be something significant, a diagnosis that is predictably going to need, statistically speaking, a lot of long-term care. That doesn't mean you couldn't go to that life care community or to OCAMIC, but it does mean you might not be offered the contract you want. You have to pass a financial to see if your assets will predictably cover and they factor in an increase in cost on that monthly fee. If they tell you you've passed, you can be rest assured this is going to be affordable for you for the rest of your life. But you do have to pass a health assessment. They take into, like, high blood pressure isn't going to disqualify you. Diabetes might not, unless it was in a combination with a lot of other issues. So you don't disqualify yourself. You can always talk to them and find out. But entry fees, a lot of people say, well, you mean I just pay this entry fee and I don't get anything back? No, that's not how it works either. There is some money that comes back to you, and you can also opt for a 50 or 95% refundable contract. You're going to pay more money, but you can opt for a contract that gives you or your estate a refund. As I used to joke, you don't have to die to get the refund, but you do have to leave one way or the other. Okay. So if you say, you know, I've decided to go move next to near my daughter in Kansas, if you leave and break that contract and you opted for a refund, you can take it with you. Or if you're a couple and one dies and one leaves, they get it. Or when you pass away, it goes to your estate. So that's a little bit of a myth breaker there, that it's not refundable. It is. So OCAMIC, 130 acres off Williston Road. It's pretty amazing if you've never been back there. And if you're remotely interested, go on a tour. It is affiliated with the university. All contracts, and they have 4 different kinds of contracts. And when I list the entry fee range, rather than confuse you and give you ranges for contracts that are typically not chosen, available, but typically not chosen, These fees are the range for the optimal contract that the majority of people choose, which is the life care contract. It is the most expensive on entry fees. So you might say, well, why would people choose that? Because it has the highest discount if you go into a higher level of care. So entry fees range from $214,000 for a studio to $861,000 plus for a standalone club home with a 2-car garage that's over 2,000 square feet. And there's, I think there's 217 apartments ranging from 488 to 2,008 square feet. So they have large apartments, and 52 club homes, the largest being 2,350 square feet. Monthly fees range from $3,024 to $8,962. And the second person monthly fee, and there's always going to be in communities like this, a second person, is $1,754. So I thought, people kind of freak out. They go, oh my God, are you telling me that it's 214,000 each? No, there's always going to be a much, much lower. And I think we skipped over that. The second person entry fee, maybe it's on the next slide, but no, second person, 37,000 to 56,000. That's for the life care contract. So you're going to add that range to whatever the main entry fee is for the unit that you're considering. Now, here's the good news. If anyone is considering it, the wait list is only $1,500 refundable for any reason at any time. And I promise you that if you wanted a 1-bedroom and den apartment or a 1-bedroom apartment, if you walked in there today, they would say, we don't have any, and there's a 5-year wait list. And that is true for really most good life care communities nationally. I had one couple get on the wait list for 4 different facilities in 4 different states because they weren't sure where they were going to go. So it's not unreasonable to plan that far ahead if that's an option for you, is to say, and a wait list lets you choose 2 floor plans. Oh, no, it's a life care community. They have assisted, skilled. What I said was nobody from the outside in the community could call up and say, can I get into assisted living at Okemuk? No, why? Because all of their assisted living apartments are being used by people on life care contracts who were promised when they needed assisted living, it would be available. So let's clear that up. It's just not, they have it, but it's not going to be accessible. What is accessible is their skilled nursing rehab. They did an expansion while I worked there and added, 30 rooms. And so they're able to take the community directly into Okemuk, typically on Medicare, mind you, on your insurance for PT and OT, physical therapy and occupational therapy, to recuperate from some event. You can do that there. No entry fee. Remember, there's no entry fees. You're just going in for rehab and leaving. Everything I'm talking about is you're moving into independent living and transitioning over to levels of care that are part of the contract. So, Okemuk, flexible dining, housekeeping, weekly, 24-hour security, all utilities, high-speed internet, basic extended cable. Everyone gets a covered parking space. The houses have 2-car garages, all the houses, even the smaller ones. There's a duplex side-by-side model there. I hope you all know that has the Institute for Learning and Retirement. That is open to anybody in Alachua County, and it's $10 a year to be a member, and there's fabulous classes. So if you like lifelong learning, you can, 50% of the people in the ILR don't live at Okemuk. And so that's a fabulous resource, intellectually stimulating resource for anybody that's 55, I think it's 55 and up, might be a little older, 60, but the ILR is a wonderful resource here in Gainesville. If you haven't taken any classes there, you would enjoy it. You can go to the ILR at Okemuk and look at the course curriculum, and you will be amazed at the variety of topics there. They also have a dental office, of course, for fees, on-site lab. You don't have to go to a lab. You can do your specimens there. There's tennis court, billiards, ping pong. There's 2 pools. There's an aerobic pool and a 50-foot long lap pool. I mean, it's state of the art. Yeah, you're paying for it, but it has a lot of amenities and services. There's an art studio. There's a big woodworking shop, a standalone building that's a couple, maybe 1,500, 2,000 square feet woodworking shop. There's a dog park where you can let your dog run around. And there's a personal gardening area, on-site PT and OT, and a 20,000 square foot fitness center. So it's a awesome place. I love working there. It's a great community. And people say, well, what's wrong with it? Costs a lot of money to move in there. There's a small percentage of people who can actually afford it, but they stay full. So they're out there somewhere. So how does this really work? I wanted to try to give you a specific example, because it all gets a little vague when you're trying to figure this out. So let's just pick a pretend couple, right? Bob and Sally Smith. They move into Okemuk, and we're just going to zip them in after they qualify. That means they qualified financially. They submitted confidential information, and they put the numbers in an actuarial computerized spreadsheet and figured out that you might live to 90. And for what you picked, is that going to work over time? They can show that to you and see if this is going to work. So they qualified financially. They passed the health assessment. They paid an entry fee. We'll just make this up, of $500,000 for both of them for a 2-bedroom apartment. Bob has a stroke and needs more care than Sally can provide. While in rehab, Bob decides that he's going to make a permanent move to assisted living while Sally stays in the apartment. The second person fee now drops off, that's $17.95, and is now just $51.21 for Sally only for that specific apartment. His rate for any level of care will be based on what's called the member healthcare rate for the life care contract only. Remember, I said big discount. Now I'm going to show you exactly what that would be if this was happening today. This rate increases annually, meaning the monthly fee is going to go up, the healthcare costs are going to go up, but the discount is generally applied for his lifetime. Do you understand what I'm saying? When people say, well, you said it would never go up. The monthly fee, everything is going to go up. I don't care if it's the Village, the Atrium, Okemuk, Timbuktu, it's going to go up. I'm running out of time. So what does this cost? So remember, we placed him in this example in assisted living and a permanent move. For assisted living in 2023, the market public rate is $249 a day, or $7,470 a month. Not that different from the Village assisted living, okay? That's the market rate. If you call today, we already told you, you're not going to be able to get into assisted living, but if you call today and said, what does it cost? That's what they're going to tell you, $7,470 a month. But for the life care contract, Bob is not paying that. Today, Bob would pay $5,910 for assisted living. That's the discount I'm talking about. Why? He paid an entry fee that locks him into this discount. That's for his lifetime. He has another stroke and has to move to skilled care permanently. The public rate in 2023 for skilled care is $432 a day, private room only. They don't even have semi-private rooms at Okemuk. So it's a little higher than you might have been thinking skilled care is. Yes, that is true. Not by a whole lot. Even a semi-private room is $340 or something a day for skilled nursing, if you were private paying and your Medicare wasn't paying it. So he would be still paying $5,910, the same rate as he was paying in assisted living. The life care contract locked him into that rate for both assisted and skilled care on the life care contract. Now, the thing that you should look at is that last bullet. Should both parties, you have a spouse, a partner, need assisted living or skilled care, the monthly fee for the independent apartment drops, right? Nobody's living in an independent. Now, both these people have moved into what's called the health pavilion. They could be both in assisted in a larger apartment together. One could be in skilled because that's the care they need, and one in assisted because that's the care they need. Both, it doesn't matter. The second person fee is only $1,754 a month. Now you see why couples might do this. They're not paying $7,470 a month. They're not paying $12,960 a month for skilled nursing in a private room. One person's paying $5,910 and the other person's paying $1,754. Now this starts to make sense. Why would somebody pay these high entry fees? One-time lump sum long-term care insurance that provides a lifetime discount. So I'm going to ask the whole question. We're almost there. So what do I advise? Educate yourselves. Don't make assumptions. Don't listen to your neighbor who says, you know, you have to have $1 million. No, but you have to be able to take a chunk of change out of your assets to pay an entry fee, one-time entry fee, and still have enough income to sustain a monthly fee over, let's say, a 15-year period or longer if you've got longevity in your family. Don't forget that. They're going to help you figure that out if you're not sure. You know, they're going to look at your total assets. Please don't count cars, jewelry, and art. Okay, hard assets, real estate, investments, income. So they're going to help you figure that out. But where will you be happy? I have people who say, I will never live at Okemik. Okay. You know, for many reasons, maybe not even just financial. There's a lot of reasons it might not be right for you. And you don't have to bleed orange and blue. People used to say that all the time. You know, you could hate the Gators and live there. You might not want to talk about it. But anyway, so I would say schedule a tour with marketing in any community, all of these communities. For people who are coming in from out of town who are interested, you can spend the night. They have guest rooms there. There's no cost, and they should give you meals for free. And you want to try the food and see what you think. And always bring a friend or a family member with you. It always helps to have somebody touring with you. If you're touring for your parents, please go by yourselves first. Do not take your parent with you. All your focus is going to be on, what do they think? Are they, oh, you know, and maybe there's a mobility issue. If you do a full tour of Okemik, it's at least 2 hours, at least, or more. So if you say, I can't handle 2 hours, or my mom can't, or my dad can't, then you go first by yourself and then break the tour up into break it down if you're wanting to go and it's exhausting for a parent. So that's my advice on that. Ask to meet other residents without a marketing person there. To say, can I sit down and meet with someone who's interested in woodworking or art? And just, could we have lunch? If they're hesitating, there's a problem. They should not hesitate at all to let you get to know that community and meet people who you might have some similar interests. And so, and again, get on the wait list. And alternatives to consider. Well, again, could do a whole presentation on naturally occurring retirement communities called NORCs. And I guess you could say that the co-housing is kind of an intentional but naturally occurring. It's not, it's really more intentional. You know, naturally occurring is like Turkey Creek, where, you know, there's people have just aged and there's a naturally occurring group of older people that are residing in an area. Intentional housing, roommate concept. If you're worried about money, talk about bringing in a senior roommate. Not that the roommate is a senior, but they're helping you sustain yourself financially by renting out a room. I helped somebody make that decision this past year. It made a huge difference for them financially. Start your own support group. And there is a new group in Gainesville that's looking for some funding through Elder Options to talk about setting up more sustainable aging in place communities within Gainesville. There's something called the village concept. Have you heard about that? Just Google the village concept, and I'm in that group. And if you're interested, email me and I'll try to make sure you get on that list to find out more about that. What does that say, ladies and gentlemen? What? Yes. So what does that mean? You just, one of the things I try to share with people is if you are going to age successfully, it requires great adaptability. You know, my mother gave me a sweatshirt that I did not appreciate at the time. It said, growing old is not for sissies. And I probably threw it out at 50. And now I'm 72 and I wish I still had it, right? Because growing old is not for sissies. So what do I mean by that? You have to learn to be adaptable. Do not dig your heels in and say, I'm never leaving my house, because never leaving your house might be the very worst decision and limit your independence over time, not give you more independence. So you've got to expect curveballs. Don't wait for the crisis. In my book, I call it, and I stole this from Tony Kenzier, who's a friend of mine here in Gainesville. There's the after retirement, there's the go-go years, the slow-go years, and the no-go years. And nobody's going to promise you that you're going to skip over slow-go. You might be go-go to no-go. And so don't assume that you're not going to need help, because if we live long enough and we all make it to 100, we are going to need some help, and to be graceful about accepting that help and practice resilience and flexibility. So I love this quote. I kind of came up with it. Long-term, but it's true. Long-term planning is not about making long-term decisions. It is understanding the consequences of today's decisions on the future you. Because I see people say, oh, I'll think about that later, or I'm never going to need help. And here's what the men used to say. I'm picking on you now, man. Oh, they're going to carry me out feet first. I'm going to need help. Not going to. Well, I hope not. But if we knew how to check the box that said, at 95, I'm going to die in my sleep peacefully, but I'm going to be 100% till the night I put my head on that pillow. But we can't check that. We can't. So I'm just saying, plan ahead for your future you. That's the name of my company. And these are some of the things that I do. And I work part-time. I already did that 50, 60 hour a week thing for many, many, many years. I retired from Okemic 5 years ago, but I really felt called to continue to work with people and help people. And that's really why I wrote my book. And here's the book. It's available. It's officially coming out March 23rd. I took 10 years at least to write this book, on and off. I'd stop it and start it, but Fletcher and I were talking, it became an obsession, you know, to finish this book, because I just felt I saw such a need for it. So it's a book that will help you make educated and informed decisions. And because so much of my background is senior living as opposed to medical, I'm not a nurse, never was. It's heavily involved in senior living options, but there's a copy of it if you want to just look at it. And there's a press release and flyer kind of about the book that will tell you more about what's in the book if you're not sure you want it on the table as well. And you're all invited to my book launch, which I'm doing here, April 2nd, from 2 to 4 here in Reimer Hall. It's open to the public. I'm invited anybody in the church who's interested, and I'll be talking a little bit more about the book. But I think that's it. Yay. Okay. And thank you for holding your questions. Otherwise, I've discovered